My wife lied in therapy for 6 months, hiding a 2-year affair. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. In therapy, my wife squeezed my hand and lied again. Claire's fingers were warm, manicured, steady. Mine were shaking so hard I could feel it in my wrist. Dr. Patel sat across from us in his softly lit office, that same framed watercolor of a beach behind him, the same box of tissues angled toward the emotional person in the room. Me, apparently. 6 months of couples therapy, 24 sessions, $3,000 out of pocket because Claire insisted, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. I had walked in every week believing I was showing up for my marriage. I kept a notebook. I practiced I statements. I stopped drinking during the week. I set alarms on my phone so I wouldn't be late and disrespectful the way Claire said I was. And every week, Claire told a story where I was the unstable one. Lucas gets intense, she said, voice gentle, almost worried. He spirals. He checks on me. He needs reassurance constantly. Dr. Patel nodded. Lucas, what happens in your body when you hear that? I swallowed. I don't think I do that. Not like she says. Claire tightened her grip like she was bracing for me. See? She murmured. That defensiveness. I stared at her. The woman I'd loved since my 20s. The woman who used to shove her cold feet under my calves on the couch and laugh when I yelped. The woman who now described me like I was a risk assessment. My phone felt like a brick in my pocket. I had printed receipts in my bag. Screenshots saved in a hidden folder. A timeline so clean it made me nauseous. Copies sat in my email draft folder addressed to Mia, unsent, like a parachute cord I could pull if Claire tried to rewrite me one more time. Dr. Patel leaned forward, calm, practiced. Lucas, you emailed me saying you had something important today. What is it? Claire smiled at him like she was grateful for his guidance. Then she looked at me, eyes flat, and whispered, Don't you dare. Dr. Patel reached for my phone, and Claire went white. Before therapy, our marriage looked good from the outside. 2 incomes, a small house in the suburbs with a lemon tree that refused to die, Friday takeout, Sunday laundry. Claire and I had a routine that felt like proof we were adults. She made coffee. I loaded the dishwasher. We kissed in the hallway like it mattered. I adored her brain. Claire could walk into a room and make people feel chosen. She was the calm one when my mom had surgery, the organizer on group trips, the person who remembered birthdays without a spreadsheet. When we fought, she usually cooled down first and pulled me back with a joke. Then, sometime around 2 years ago, the jokes got sharper. It started small, her phone always face down. A new passcode for work compliance. Little comments that landed like paper cuts. You're doing that thing again. You're taking it personally. You're projecting. I thought she'd picked up therapy language from Instagram and it would pass. The big shift came after a dinner at my coworker Ethan's place. We'd all been drinking cheap wine on his patio, laughing about the HOA. On the drive home, Claire said, You embarrassed me. I honestly didn't know what she meant. You interrupted me, like, 5 times, she said, staring out the window. It's controlling. I was telling a story, I said. You laughed. She shrugged. I laughed because I didn't want a scene. That sentence lodged in my chest. I started monitoring myself like a broken appliance. Volume, tone, face, posture. The more careful I got, the more Claire said I was performing instead of being authentic. Every conversation turned into a trap. When she suggested couples therapy, I felt relief. A neutral third party. A reset. A way to learn how to stop hurting each other by accident. I just want us to be healthy, Claire said, sliding her laptop toward me. Dr. Patel is amazing. It was marked private, like I wasn't invited to my own life. Her calendar showed a weekly block, and she never mentioned it. Our first session was on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. I remember because I parked in a spot that said reserved, and Claire hissed, Move, like we were already failing the test. Dr. Patel was exactly what you imagine. Calm eyes, soft voice, hands folded like a patient teacher. He asked why we were there. I started to speak about miscommunication, stress, how I wanted to do better. Claire beat me to it. Lucas has anger issues, she said. I blinked. What? He gets loud, she continued, still composed. He slams cabinets. He scares me sometimes. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like missing a step. I'd never hit her. I'd never thrown anything. Sure, I'd shut a drawer too hard once. I'd snapped in traffic. But scares me? Dr. Patel nodded slowly. Claire, thank you for being honest. Lucas, how do you respond to that? I looked at Claire, waiting for her to soften it, to say she meant intimidating energy, not this. She didn't. She stared at a point on the rug like she was narrating a documentary. I don't want to scare you, I said, because what else do you say when someone paints you as a threat? Claire exhaled, relieved, like she'd gotten a confession. I just need him to take accountability. The rest of the session became about my reaction patterns. Dr. Patel asked about my childhood, my dad's temper, my coping skills. Claire contributed helpful details. Too helpful. She used examples that were almost right, but not quite. Like last Thursday when you yelled at me in the kitchen, she said. I frowned. Last Thursday we ordered Thai and watched that dumb reality show. You fell asleep. Claire's eyes flicked to mine, quick as a blade. See, she said to Dr. Patel. He rewrites things. I left feeling confused but hopeful because Dr. Patel gave us homework, and Claire held my hand in the elevator like we were a team again. In the car, she played Taylor Swift and hummed like nothing had happened. At home, I opened our shared calendar to add the homework check-in. That's when I saw Claire had blocked off every Tuesday afternoon for the next 3 months, labeled meeting, the exact hours we'd had that Thai TV night. Outside, Claire whispered, "Don't embarrass me in there again." After that, therapy stopped feeling like help and started feeling like court. Claire got good at it. She'd walk in calm, a little sad, always owning her part. She'd say things like, "I know I can be anxious," or "I'm working on my tone," then pivot to me. "Lucas violates my boundaries," she'd say. "He demands explanations. He interrogates me." Dr. Patel would turn to me with that gentle seriousness. "Lucas, when Claire asks for space, can you respect it?" I'd nod, desperate to be the good husband. "Yes, I can." And then at home, when I asked where she'd been for 3 hours with her phone on Do Not Disturb, she'd tilt her head and say, "Wow, that's control." The words changed me. I started hearing myself from the outside. Needy, suspicious, pathetic. Claire would use the same phrases Dr. Patel used. "You're dysregulated. You're catastrophizing. You're making my feelings about you." One night, I tried to talk about something simple, how she'd missed my birthday dinner because of a work emergency. I sat alone at the table, I said, for 40 minutes. Claire sighed like I'd inconvenienced her. "You're centering yourself." "It was my birthday," I said. She crossed her arms. "You're weaponizing the date." In the next session, she told Dr. Patel I'd punished her for working late and made her feel unsafe to pursue her career. Dr. Patel asked me why I resented her success. I stared at him, mouth open, because my brain couldn't find the bridge between reality and the story being told. I began keeping notes. Dates. Times. What actually happened. Not to win, I told myself, just so I didn't lose my mind. Then something small happened that made my stomach clench. Claire went to shower and left her phone on the counter. A message preview popped up from an unknown number. "You okay? You buy it." Before I could stop myself, I grabbed the phone. It was locked. When Claire came out, towel on her hair, she saw my face and smiled softly. "Look at you," she said, almost affectionate. "You're spiraling." I sat down, breathing hard, and tried to remember if I'd imagined the preview. That night, I found my own apology text, sent from my phone. The next morning I scrolled through my messages like I was reading someone else's life. There it was, a long text to Claire from 11:47 p.m. the night before. "I'm sorry I got paranoid. I'm sorry I don't trust you. I'm working on it. I love you." It sounded like me, but cleaner. Like therapy me. Like the version of me Claire wanted on record. I checked my screen time. My phone had been active for 8 minutes at 11:42 p.m. while I'd been asleep. I told myself maybe I'd woken up and forgotten. That was easier than the alternative. Over the next weeks, the red flags multiplied in ways you can almost miss if you're trying to be a good person. Claire changed her iCloud password because hackers. She stopped using our shared grocery list and started texting herself. She began yoga on Tuesdays, exactly when that mysterious calendar block was. She started wearing perfume to the office again, the one she'd saved for date nights. Whenever I asked, she'd smile and say, "You're doing it again." I tried to fix myself harder. More therapy, more journaling, more swallowing my questions until my throat hurt. Then, on a Saturday, I went to Costco and realized Claire had taken my card from the wallet. I called her. No answer. I texted. Nothing. At checkout, I used our joint credit card and the receipt printed with the last 4 digits. I shoved it into my pocket and drove home, annoyed and a little embarrassed. Later that night, while Claire folded laundry in the bedroom with the door closed, an email from our credit card company hit my inbox. New purchase. Belvedere Hotel, $184. 62. I stared at the screen. We hadn't booked a hotel. Not for work. Not for a trip. Not for anything. I checked the date. Tuesday. During yoga. During therapy homework week. When I asked Claire about it, she didn't miss a beat. Oh, that, she said, barely looking up from her phone. Conference block. They made us book through the hotel directly. What conference? I asked. She blinked, then laughed like I was adorable. Lucas, please don't start. I went to the kitchen, pulled the Costco receipt out of my pocket, and flattened it on the counter like evidence. The receipt showed 2 lattes and a name I recognized instantly. The coffee shop was a chain near Claire's office. I knew it because Ethan used to bring it to morning meetings, rolling his eyes at the prices. The Costco receipt had a smaller receipt stapled to it. Claire must have shoved both in her pocket without thinking. At the top, mobile order, Ethan. My first reaction was stupid relief. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe Ethan had grabbed coffee for the team. Maybe Claire had used his account to get points because he offered. People do that, right? Then my brain did what it had been trained to do in therapy. It replayed my patterns. Catastrophizing. Spiraling. Making assumptions. I heard Dr. Patel's voice. Stay curious, not accusatory. So I stayed curious. On Sunday, while Claire watched a show upstairs, I opened our bank app. I wasn't snooping. I paid half these bills. The Belvedere Hotel charge wasn't on our card. It was on Claire's personal debit. But our bank notifications were linked on the home computer, still logged in because she'd paid the water bill last month. I clicked details. It listed an address. Downtown. Not near a conference center. Not near her office. Near Ethan's neighborhood. My hands went cold. I took a photo of the screen with my phone like I was documenting a crime. Then I hated myself for doing it. I hated her for making me need to. That night we went to bed like normal. Claire turned away from me, scrolling. I lay there listening to her breathe, waiting for my heart to slow down. At 2:13 a.m., her phone lit up on the nightstand. Just a glow at first, then the familiar lock screen. I could see the preview through the darkness because my eyes were wide open anyway. Miss you, it said. Same place Tuesday. Under it, the contact name, Ethan. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't move. I felt like if I moved, the whole house would collapse and the sound would wake her. Claire stirred, rolled toward me, and her hand landed on my chest, casual, claiming. In her sleep, she murmured, "Love you." I stared at the ceiling and realized I hadn't felt safe in my own bed for months. At 2:13 a.m., her screen lit up with Ethan's initials. Monday, I functioned like a person. I went to work. I answered emails. I laughed at a joke in the break room like my insides weren't being sandblasted. By lunchtime, I had a plan that wasn't a plan so much as a rule. No confrontation without proof. Therapy had taught me how easy it was for Claire to make me look irrational. If I came at her with a hunch, she'd turn it into an episode. If I came at her with facts, at least reality had a fighting chance. The first breadcrumb was the easiest. Our phone bill. Claire and I were on the same family plan. The portal didn't show content, just numbers and times. I told myself I was checking for a billing error. There were dozens of calls and texts to Ethan's number. Not just during work hours, late nights, early mornings, gaps on weekends when Claire said she was decompressing. The timestamps lined up with those Tuesday calendar blocks. Next was the shared calendar. Claire had started blocking time for her mental health. I had applauded it. Now I clicked each block and saw the same private location tag. A pin dropped downtown, always within 2 blocks of the Belvedere. Then I checked our car's Bluetooth call history. It saved recent connections. Ethan's name was there, over and over, on days Claire claimed she'd walked to clear her head. The part that made me shake was the iPad. We had an old iPad in the kitchen for recipes. Claire used it sometimes for FaceTime with her mom. I opened messages, expecting nothing because she'd changed passwords. But the iPad was still logged into her Apple ID. A thread with Ethan sat there, muted. The last message visible was from Saturday. Delete after you read. He's watching. My throat closed. I took screenshots. I emailed them to myself. I deleted the sent email. Then I realized how insane that was and kept going anyway. Buried in the photo app were recently deleted pictures, hotel mirror selfies cropped to hide the room number, and one shot of 2 wine glasses on a nightstand. His hand in the corner, wearing the watch I'd complimented him on last Christmas. The dates were what broke me. Not weeks. Not months. This was a pattern. And one charge repeated monthly, always the day after our sessions. I built the timeline the way you build a fence, one post at a time until you realize you've enclosed something ugly. The Belvedere charges were new, but the pattern wasn't. When I searched the bank portal for Belvedere, older results popped up, different amounts, same merchant. I widened the date range back a year. Then 2. There it was. The first charge, $172.19, dated May 17th, 2 years ago. May 17th was our anniversary. That year Claire had insisted we keep it simple. No fancy dinner, she said. She was tired. We ordered pizza and watched a movie. I remember rubbing her feet while she scrolled through her phone, smiling at something she wouldn't share. The next morning she kissed me and said, "Thank you for understanding." I had felt proud of myself for being easygoing. Now I clicked details and saw the timestamp, 9:14 p.m. The same night. The same hour she'd said she had a migraine and needed to lie down. I sat at my desk at work, staring at the screen until the letters blurred. My chest hurt like I'd been punched. I searched Ethan's name in my email. Nothing obvious. Then I remembered Uber receipts sometimes went to email. I typed Uber and Claire. A list appeared. Pickups from our house. Drop-offs downtown. Return rides at 12:30 a.m., 1:05 a.m., 11:58 p.m. The destinations matched the Belvedere's address, over and over. The kicker was the week I didn't want to open. My dad's funeral. The week my mom clutched my arm so hard she left nail marks. The week Claire had been so supportive, bringing casseroles, sitting beside me at night, whispering that we'd get through it. There was a Belvedere charge in that week too. Tuesday, $189.04. I went into the office bathroom and threw up so violently my eyes watered. I wiped my mouth and stared at my reflection, thinking, she did this while holding my hand at a graveside. On the way home, I passed the therapist's office and saw our appointment reminder pop up for tomorrow. My thumb hovered over confirm. The earliest date was the week we buried my father. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay beside Claire listening to her breathe, and every inhale felt like theft. In the morning, I did something I'm not proud of. I opened her laptop. We shared the house, the mortgage, the dog, and apparently a stranger's body, but her laptop was private. She'd drilled that into me so thoroughly that even lifting the lid felt like stepping into traffic. The password was new. I guessed anyway, our dog's name with a number. It worked on the 3rd try. My hands trembled as the desktop loaded, because I half expected alarms to go off and Dr. Patel to appear behind me saying, "Lucas, this is a boundary violation." I didn't go to messages. I didn't go to photos. I went to her email search bar and typed Patel. A thread popped up immediately. Not scheduling emails. Not insurance forms. Actual messages. Long, detailed, sent at 10:30 p.m. after our sessions. "Hi, Dr. Patel." Claire had written 2 weeks ago. "I'm worried Lucas is escalating again. Tonight he demanded to know where I was and wouldn't let it go. I felt trapped. I'm trying to use the tools, but he keeps interrogating me." There was no mention of her disappearing. No mention of the hotel. No mention of Ethan. Just me, reduced to a problem to be managed. Dr. Patel had replied, professional and careful. "Thank you for sharing, Claire. Safety is important. We can discuss creating clearer boundaries next session." Safety. Claire had been feeding him a narrative outside the room, building a paper trail, using the language of healing like a weapon. I clicked older emails. There were 6 months' worth, each one a little worse. Each one documenting a pattern of me being controlling, emotionally volatile, unpredictable. Attached to one was a PDF titled, "Personal Safety Plan." My throat went dry. I opened it. It had steps, numbers, a list of support people. It read like a prep kit for leaving an abuser. At the bottom, in Claire's handwriting font, "If Lucas escalates, contact attorney." Attorney? I closed the laptop so gently it felt like a prayer. My marriage wasn't being repaired in therapy, it was being archived. I opened her drafted email to Dr. Patel, and it wasn't about healing. Tuesday arrived like a deadline. Claire acted different all day, lighter, almost giddy. She texted me a heart emoji at 9:07 a.m. for the first time in months. She touched my shoulder in the kitchen and said, "I'm proud of us." The old me would have melted. The new me watched like I was studying an animal that could bite. In the car to therapy, she squeezed my knee. "I had a breakthrough," she said. "Oh yeah." My voice sounded normal. Inside, I was a siren. "I realized I've been carrying resentment," she continued. "And I've been blaming you for my anxiety. I want to take ownership." That was how she did it. Give me crumbs of responsibility so I'd accept the loaf of blame. At Dr. Patel's office, she went first. "Lucas, I'm sorry I've made you feel like you're always wrong," she said, tears perfectly forming but not falling. "I can see how my withdrawal triggers your fear." Dr. Patel's face softened. "That's a meaningful insight, Claire." Then he turned to me. "Lucas, can you receive that without defending?" I nodded, because I didn't trust my mouth. For a second I considered saying everything right there, pulling out my phone, letting the truth detonate in this carefully curated room. But Claire had spent 6 months teaching Dr. Patel what to think of me. If I exploded, it would look like proof. So I played along. "I appreciate it," I said. "I want to be better." Claire's fingers threaded through mine like a vow. After the session, in the parking lot, she leaned into me and whispered, "See, we're getting somewhere." Back at home, she went upstairs to change. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the safety plan PDF I'd photographed. When Claire came down, she paused in the doorway. Her eyes swept the room. Too quick, too sharp. Then she walked over and rested her hands on my shoulders. "You've been quiet lately," she said sweetly. "Are you okay?" I forced a smile. "Just tired." Her thumbs pressed into my shoulders. Not quite massage, not quite grip. "Lucas," she said softly, "promise me something." "What?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Promise me you're not doing anything behind my back." Claire smiled and asked, "Did you look at my phone?" I told Mia on Wednesday. Not the whole story at first. Just, "I think Claire is cheating." Like saying it softly might make it less real. Mia didn't gasp. She didn't say, "Are you sure?" She said, "What do you have?" Like she'd already moved into survival mode for me. We met at a coffee shop off the highway because I didn't want cameras at our neighborhood place. I slid my phone across the table. Screenshots, call logs, the Belvedere charges, the Uber receipts, the safety plan PDF. Mia scrolled, jaw tightening. "This isn't just an affair," she said. "She's building a case." "That's what it feels like," I whispered. My throat burned. "Like therapy is documentation." Mia looked up. "You need a lawyer before you confront her." I wanted to argue. I wanted to be the kind of man who handles his marriage with honesty, not paperwork. But I pictured Claire's emails to Dr. Patel. Escalating. Trapped. Safety. So I called a divorce attorney that afternoon from my car, parked behind a grocery store. The consultation fee was $250. The receptionist asked my name, and I almost said Claire's, out of habit. The attorney asked blunt questions. "Do you own a home? Any kids? Joint accounts? Any history of violence?" I said no, yes, and no. "Do not confront until you've secured copies of everything," she said. "Move half of joint funds into an account in your name. Change your passwords. And whatever you do, don't let her bait you into a scene." A scene. Claire's favorite genre. That night, I opened a new bank account online and set my paycheck to deposit there. I printed the Uber receipts at work. I saved the iPad screenshots to a thumb drive and put it in Mia's glove compartment. I bought a small lockbox and hid it behind the paint cans in the garage. I hated myself for how sneaky I'd become. But I hated the version of me that would have walked into another therapy session and apologized for being dysregulated, while my wife slept with my friend. By Friday, I had a folder. Dates, times, charges, screenshots, and one email where Claire told Ethan, he thinks it's his fault. Mia texted, "Decide where you want the truth to explode." On the lawyer's desk, my marriage looked like a spreadsheet. I chose therapy for the explosion because it was the only place Claire couldn't storm out and call it self-care. It was the only room where her performance had to compete with facts. The morning of our session, I dressed like I was going to court, button down, no coffee breath. I put the folder in my backpack and felt the weight of it like a weapon I didn't want to carry. In the waiting room, Claire leaned into me and whispered, "Remember what we talked about? No surprises." I smiled like an idiot. Of course. Inside, Dr. Patel greeted us with that gentle tone. "How did the week go?" Claire started. "Honestly, better. Lucas has been respecting my boundaries." I nodded, letting her build the stage. Dr. Patel turned to me. "Lucas?" I placed my phone on my thigh and said carefully, "I need to share something, and I need you to look at it before we talk about feelings." Claire's head snapped toward me. "Lucas." I held up my hand. "Please." Dr. Patel's eyebrows lifted. "Okay, show me." I opened the folder on my phone. The Belvedere charges with dates, the Uber receipts, the call log timestamps, the iPad message thread where Ethan wrote, "Delete after you read." He's watching. I slid the phone across the coffee table. For the first time in 6 months, Claire looked panicked. Not sad. Not wounded. Panicked. "That's private," she said quickly. "That's him violating my privacy. This is exactly what I've been talking about." Dr. Patel didn't look up. He scrolled. His face changed in slow increments. Confusion, then focus, then something like dread. Claire reached for the phone. "You can't just..." I pulled it back. "Let him finish." Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "Claire, can you explain why there are hotel charges every Tuesday afternoon?" Claire's eyes flashed. "Work travel. The Uber receipts are from your home address," I said, voice tight. "To the Belvedere. Then back at 1:05 a.m. Claire turned to Dr. Patel, tears finally falling. "This is abusive. He's tracking me. I told you this would happen." And there it was, the move. Flip the board. Make my evidence the crime. Dr. Patel looked between us, fingers still on my phone. "Claire," he said slowly, "who is Ethan?" Dr. Patel turned to Claire and asked, "Who is Ethan, really?" Claire didn't answer Dr. Patel's question. She stared at me like I'd dragged a stranger into the room and called it my wife. "Ethan is a colleague," she said too fast. "He's on a project. A colleague who texts you at 2:13 a.m. About the same place Tuesday?" I asked. Claire's gaze flicked to Dr. Patel, and I watched her choose the story that made me the villain. "Lucas has been stalking me," she said, voice shaking on cue. "He broke into my accounts. He's trying to trap me." Dr. Patel held up a hand. "Claire, I need a direct answer. Is there an affair?" "No," she said, and the word came out like a blade. I pulled out the printed screenshots and laid them on the table. The iPad thread, the Belvedere charges, the Uber receipts. One recently deleted photo with Ethan's watch in the corner. Another where the room number faintly reflected in a mirror behind her. Dr. Patel's eyes moved over the pages. His face changed. Claire stared at the papers, then at me, and her expression shifted into something I'd never seen in 10 years. Hatred mixed with fear. "You don't understand what you've done," she said quietly. "What I've done?" My voice cracked. "Claire, this is 2 years." Her shoulders jerked like I'd hit her. "It wasn't supposed to be 2 years," she snapped. "It was supposed to be one mistake." Dr. Patel's voice stayed calm, but his jaw tightened. "Claire, who is Ethan to you?" I laughed hollow. "You know Ethan. You've met him." Claire's eyes widened. "Ethan from my job," I said, each word tasting like metal. "The one who helped us move the couch. The one who sat on our patio and told me I was lucky." Dr. Patel looked between us. "Claire, why hide this for 6 months in therapy?" Claire's mouth opened, closed. Then she whispered, "Because if it got out, I'd lose everything." "The emails," I said. "The safety plan. You were building a file on me." Claire swallowed, eyes glassy. "I needed leverage. Ethan said you'd destroy me." "Destroy you how?" Dr. Patel asked. Claire didn't answer him. She looked at me, and her hand drifted to her stomach like a reflex. Claire's hand went to her stomach as she whispered, "It might be his." The session ended without closure because real life doesn't do neat endings. Dr. Patel asked Claire to stay and ground. Claire stood up instead, grabbed her purse, and said, "I'm done being unsafe," like she was reading from a script. She walked out before I could say anything that wasn't rage. In the parking lot, she called Ethan. I heard his name on her voicemail greeting when she put it on speaker by accident. "Hey, it's Ethan, leave it," and she snatched the phone back like it burned. I drove home alone. The house felt staged. Her mug in the sink. Her cardigan on the chair. By nightfall, Claire had taken a suitcase and the dog. She texted, "I'm staying with a friend. Don't contact me unless it's logistical." Then, 5 minutes later, please respect my boundaries. I moved half the joint money the attorney told me to move. I changed passwords. I slept on the couch with my phone in my hand like a lifeline. Mia came over with takeout and a legal pad and started making lists. Utilities, mortgage, insurance, who has the dog. I hated that my life fit on bullet points. At work, Ethan avoided me. When I walked into the Monday meeting, he stared at his laptop like it was holy. My hands shook so badly I spilled coffee. He didn't look up. I reported it to HR without drama. There's a personal conflict affecting my work. I have documentation. HR asked for dates. I gave them dates. Dr. Patel emailed once. I'm sorry for the harm caused. I stared at the words and felt something in me go numb. Therapy had been my sanctuary. Now it felt like a room with no locks. Claire's parents left voicemails about privacy and forgiveness. My mom cried and asked what she'd done wrong. Friends texted vague things like, "Hope you two are okay," because Claire had already started telling her version. 2 weeks later, I got served divorce papers at my desk. The petition didn't mention Ethan. It mentioned emotional instability. It mentioned controlling behavior. It mentioned fear. Then I received a court notice with Claire's signature and a false accusation. The accusation was simple and devastating, that I'd cornered Claire in the kitchen and she feared for her safety. It was the kind of claim that doesn't need evidence to infect people. It just needs air. My attorney told me, don't react. Respond. So I did the least satisfying thing in the world. I got organized. I pulled my phone location history. I pulled the Ring camera clip from our front door, showing Claire leaving calmly with her suitcase that night. I printed the therapy emails where she'd been building the escalation narrative, and I highlighted the dates that matched hotel charges. Mia sat at my dining table while I assembled exhibits like I was building a version of myself that could survive court. Do you still love her? She asked once, quietly. I thought about it. The real answer wasn't romantic. I loved who I thought she was, I said. And I hate how hard I tried to become someone easier to betray. I started individual therapy with a different counselor, someone who didn't know Claire, someone who didn't have 6 months of curated stories in their inbox. In that room, I finally said the truth out loud. I had been trained to doubt myself. I had apologized for questions that were actually instincts. I had mistaken calmness for honesty. People ask whether I regret couples therapy. I don't regret trying. I regret surrendering my reality to someone else's narrative. Therapy is a tool, not a courtroom, and not a shield for lies. If there's one practical takeaway, it's this. Keep your own record of what's real, and don't let process replace proof. Claire never admitted everything. She admitted just enough to soften her image and protect her future. Ethan stopped showing up to meetings and eventually took leave. The house got quieter. The lemon tree kept surviving anyway. Some mornings I still woke up expecting to hear Claire in the kitchen, humming, making coffee like our life was intact. Then I'd remember, and the grief would come in waves. But the waves got smaller, and I got steadier.